Good evening and welcome to the latest in our series of Brightside Talks as part of Brightside Connections, which is our brand new network for former mentees. Today's talk has the title, How Volunteering Will Change Your Life and Boost Your Career. So my name is Matt and I am Brightside's volunteer manager. So what that means is that I manage the team of about 4,000 online mentors that carry out the mentoring for us, as well as getting volunteers involved in a few other bits around Brightside as well. So it's my role to recruit them, but also look after them, make sure that they have a nice time doing it, and ultimately can be the best mentors that they can be. But my volunteering journey doesn't just start there. I've been involved in volunteering ever since the age of about 14, when I took my first ever volunteer role on. At 14, I decided that I was going to become a young leader with the Scouts. Essentially, what that means is that I was going to help out with the younger children in the local Scout group and make sure that they were able to have a good time and get the best out of it. So it wasn't a massive role at the time, but what it did was it laid the foundations for a whole lot of really, really exciting stuff that was to come over the coming years in my volunteer experience. So something that I have really loved about volunteering has been the amount of travel that I've ended up doing. So it's an experience that I pursued specifically within my volunteering, and it's led me to go to Sweden, Japan, Iceland, Canada, and it's allowed me to see different parts of the world and connect with different people in a way that I would never have been able to do had I not taken up some of the opportunities that I had when I was younger. The other thing volunteering's given me is the opportunity to sit in meetings that I really didn't deserve to be in, I guess, at the time, in the sense that I've been sat around the table with chief executives and senior business people discussing all things to do with different charities. A really, really exciting opportunity to get to engage with people that I otherwise wouldn't have got to do. I've also been involved in decision making with people at very senior levels within the charities that I've volunteered in. So I've got to really dictate the direction that some of the charities have gone in and really have a say and have myself listened to, which is an experience that has been really, really amazing and has allowed me to really develop those skills that I wouldn't have got to otherwise. And ultimately, it's led to my career as well. And so that probably sounds relatively obvious to you because my job is volunteer manager, but actually it's not the role of volunteer manager that's why volunteering has had such a huge effect on my career. But actually, it's the skills that I picked up on the way that has given me the confidence to go into interviews, to go into situations, and ultimately get those really, really great jobs and the job that I really, really wanted to do. So volunteering at its simplest is just giving your time for free. It's usually about something that you care a lot about or something that you have an intrinsic connection with. Often volunteering happens through a charity or another organisation, but this isn't always the case. You'll often find people who go to a local park and help clean up the park, or they help their elderly neighbours with their chores. These are still examples of ways people volunteer, and it's all about making that impact in the community and finding that thing that you care about. That said, a lot of charities out there have a lot of really exciting opportunities to volunteer with them as well, and often you can find organisations that you really care about, that you know from various campaigns they've done. They all have opportunities for you to get involved directly with their work through their volunteering offer. Something that's really exciting about getting into volunteering now, as opposed to maybe 20 or 30 years ago, is how much volunteering has evolved over the years. So the traditional view of volunteering might be that it's something that is very serious, that you have to submit your application to, and then you give a huge amount of commitment and you go spend half your life doing this volunteering and you do it for 20, 30 years, giving up loads and loads of time. Whereas actually, that's not the case anymore. You have so much more control over what your volunteer experience is now. So if you want to help somebody in a one-off situation, you absolutely can. You can spend just one day doing some volunteering, or even just a couple of hours. You can do ad hoc as well. So perhaps there's certain times of the year where you're less busy, or you have more time. The summer, for example, you could find some opportunities that allow you to do voluntary work just over the summer before you go back to being more busy at other times of the year. And equally, there are lots of volunteer opportunities that are still regular commitments, but you can choose that level of commitment a lot more than you ever used to be able to. If you can save half an hour a week to donate to a voluntary organization, or you can find just an hour of your time, loads of organizations out there would love to have you and would be able to really value you. So the message really is that you can take control of the experience that you want. You'll notice from the slide on the screen that it says 7 in 10 people have taken part in volunteering, which I think is huge. 70% of people have done some volunteering at some point in their life. So that, again, it might be that somebody used to be involved in a voluntary organisation, or at a different time in their life they used to help out doing different things. But what that's saying is that as a society, a lot of us do a lot of volunteering, which is really, really great for our communities and will have a really, really big impact. More interestingly, I think, is when you start to break down into who volunteers actually are. There's a lot of misconceptions about people in different demographics, but actually, when you look at the under 25s, for example, 37% of people under 25 have volunteered within the last year, which is absolutely incredible. That means there's loads of young people out there making a positive impact and doing loads of amazing stuff and having loads of amazing opportunities. The reason that I think they're doing this is because young people are starting to appreciate the life skills that you can pick up from volunteering. If you want to get ahead in that job interview, if you want to make your CV stand out, if you want to make your university application stand out, volunteering is without doubt one of the best ways that you can put your head above the rest in those application processes. The other thing that's really exciting, and I covered it slightly just there, but it's around the way people volunteer now, and not having time doesn't have to be a reason not to volunteer anymore. There are so many really, really flexible ways to volunteer, and you can volunteer online, for example. Brightside are a really good example of that. But you can volunteer in an ad hoc way. If you can give when you can and not when you can't. You can make volunteering fit around you now, which means that you can still get those skills, you can still get those experiences, even if you live a really, really busy life or you're not in a position to commit on a regular basis. So the reason people volunteer varies hugely with different people. But one of the really, really big things that volunteering has given me is it's given me a platform. Volunteering gives you a platform to be able to make a difference about something that you care about. When I was younger, I used to get really frustrated about how, despite the fact that there were lots of issues that I could identify with and lots of things that I knew could be better and I could use my skills for, it was really hard to ever find the opportunity to do it. And that's true when you go into the workplace as well. Often when you start in your careers, you'll find yourself in more junior roles, and you know that you've developed loads of skills over your educational journey, and there's loads of things that you could do to support the organization. But ultimately, the experiences often go to the more senior members of staff who already have more experience. Volunteering is a way for you to fast track yourself to that more experience. You can go and find those opportunities through your volunteering roles. That means that when it comes to the workplace, you can already say that you've got the experience, that you are qualified to take on the various different things that you would like to do. And ultimately, the satisfaction that you're going to get from being able to really make a difference within volunteering is huge. Something that people don't really know about within volunteering, or that a lot of people aren't aware about, definitely, is the level that you can actually progress within volunteering. So you might find yourself a role which is a relatively small role. It's just about helping out a small organization. But as you grow as a person, as your experience grows, you can grow into more and more different roles and gain more responsibility and ultimately more experience. So if you want to really grow yourself, then volunteering is a really good chance to do that. And part of that growth is volunteering gives you access to opportunities that go way beyond your own personal experience. So whereas, like I said, there might be those things that you just don't get to do in the workplace, volunteering allows you to get yourself around the table, get yourself into those places that builds the experience that you need. A really good example of that is the first time that I was ever a line manager. So the first time that I ever managed a group of people was not through work, it was through volunteering. So I was asked, as part of my role with the Scouts, it was to manage a group of 5 volunteers who together we were going to deliver youth provision across the whole of Lambeth. It was the first time I'd ever done it. It was scary, but I found the support, and I built my skills in being able to manage other people through that. I was then able to take that to my workplace and present that to my boss and explain that as a reason as to why I have the skills and why I should be trusted to manage some other members of staff. So it's a really direct example of where my voluntary experience fed directly into the workplace. I've also had loads of experience of senior decision making through my volunteering. So chances to really influence the way that charities happen and then see the results of that influencing and that decision making. And the learning that I've taken there has been so big in terms of the stuff that I've then gone on to do in my career. It means that I can confidently sit around the table with my chief executive, with the other senior members of staff, and talk about strategy and talk about really important conversations and have the confidence to open my mouth and give my contribution. I'd like to come back to traveling, because traveling is one of the biggest things that I've got out of volunteering. And I guess it's whilst volunteering is very much a giving exercise, there's lots of nice things that you get out of it as well. And something that I really developed through volunteering was my passion for traveling. I mentioned earlier some of the trips that I've got to go on. But not only does volunteering allow you to travel, but it's given me the sorts of experiences that I wouldn't have got elsewhere. And they're absolutely open to you as well. If you go and research some organisations, if travelling is something that you'd like to be able to do with your volunteering, there are lots and lots of opportunities out there for you to go. And it's a chance for you to really connect with different cultures and understand the way that different people live. The people you meet through volunteering is also a really, really incredible thing. Firstly, you make loads of friends, even in an online environment for some of the volunteering opportunities, and even when some of them are less ad hoc, you're still engaging with people. You still get to meet new people. Sometimes when you get more involved in an organisation, you end up developing some friendships, and those people stay with you forever. Not only is it nice to make some friends, but actually you're building your personal network. And from a career point of view, that is absolutely invaluable. That some of the people that I've met through volunteering have ended up becoming colleagues, and then in future ended up introducing me to people that have enhanced my professional connections, that have been conversations that have allowed me to really progress and really excel in my job. And even through the likes of platforms like LinkedIn, which some of you may be familiar with, a whole load of people that I've connected with on there are through my volunteer work. And then in turn, a lot of opportunities have come my way because of those connections I've made. And I've really noticed it when I've looked at other people who haven't volunteered as much. Other people don't have as big a networks as I've been able to build through my volunteer connections. So it's a really, really good way for you at the start of your career to build those connections and get yourself ahead of everybody else. You can absolutely relate the volunteer experience that you want to the roles that you're going to take on. So if you've identified that in order to exceed in a particular job that you want to go and do, you need to build your presentation skills, you can find a volunteer opportunity that will allow you to do that. If a really good example of where a lot of people get some voluntary experience is people that are interested in accountancy or something like that. There are loads of charities out there that would love a hand with some accountancy. And so not only do you give them something that's really valuable to them, but actually you get that experience that when you go on to get your first job or try to progress in your career, you can evidence all of that stuff that you have done in the past. The important thing, or the important lesson, is to ask for the experience that you want. So lots of people will advertise various different volunteer roles, and you could have a really good time, and you could go and gain lots of skills from that. But if there's something that you really want out of it, you will have a volunteer manager. So it's up to you to go and speak to them and explain to them the experience that you want and get them to build the role around you. Volunteering now has to be flexible, and volunteering providers understand that they need to be flexible around the needs of the people that are volunteering for them. So go out and go and ask them for the experience, and actually that proactiveness will reflect really, really well on you, and that will open you up to getting so many more opportunities. It's a really, really important thing for you to go and do. So how do you actually go and volunteer? I realise that I hope that I've convinced you that that volunteering is a really useful thing for you to go and do when it comes to thinking about your career. But I can understand that it can be quite difficult to think about, how do I go and find that role that's right for me? Nobody's ever asked me to volunteer for anything. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it. The first one, I think, is to look inwardly and find out what is it that is important to you, what are the issues that you care about, and then go and find some organisations that make action on those issues. There might be some big organisations that you know well. So go and look on their website, and they will be listing the volunteer opportunities, and you'll be really surprised at the diversity of stuff. So a really common volunteer role is going and doing fundraising, but volunteering is not limited to fundraising. You can go and be a researcher if you want to through volunteer roles. You can go and have a trustee position and go and get involved in the inner workings of a charity. There are so many different things that you can go and do. So just go and have a browse and see what's out there. Another really big tip is for you to go and get in touch with your employer, or if you're at school or your college or your university. A lot of these people will have services in place for you to help you get really good volunteer opportunities. Many colleges and many universities have dedicated volunteer services that you can go along to, and you can speak to them, and they will have loads of links with loads of charities, so they can help you identify what the best experience is for you. With employers, there's a couple of really, really nice trends that are happening at the moment. One is called employer-supported volunteering. So through employer-supported volunteering, a lot of workplaces will put on volunteer opportunities for you and help and coordinate you to help you actually do them. So they might support a specific charity, or they might be looking for a particular cause, but they will work with the volunteering provider and with you to help give you that experience. It's a really good way to easily get some great volunteer experience. The other thing a lot of employers do now is give dedicated volunteering leave. So what that means is that on top of your annual leave and your holidays that you can go and do, you can take extra days which are dedicated for you to go and do some volunteering. This is a really, really good way for people that are struggling with time to actually get involved with stuff that you want to do still. Employers are doing this because employers value the volunteering that you do. They know that your boss knows that if you go off and do some volunteering and pick up some new skills, you're going to bring those skills back to your workplace, and you're going to then become a better employee because of it. So employers are really, really keen to do it. If you're currently working, especially if you're at the beginning of your career and you don't know about it, go and ask. The worst thing that's going to happen is to say no. But I'd like to feel that you could be empowered to kind of question why it is that they don't do it, and see if it's something that they would consider doing in the future for their staff, and sell to them the benefits. Sell to them what you want to do. You want to go and upskill yourself. You want to go and gain some new experiences that are going to benefit the organisation, and see what your boss will say when it comes to that. Another approach to taking on some volunteer work is to go and find the problem yourself and do something about it. you will see in the news there's a lot of young people that are into climate, for example, that are getting up and doing something and being proactive about the problem that they foresee. And you could definitely do that, and you can still get loads of transferable skills from doing something yourself. And that's a really good way that you can bring a community together, and you can bring your friends together, but also look externally from those and tackle an issue that you really care about. I worked with some young people recently who wanted to deal with plastic pollution in our canals, so they designed a community project to go and clear the plastic out of the canals locally to them, and they're going to involve the local community as well and get more and more people involved. If you do decide to do that, ask for some support from your school, from your university, your college, or your employers, because they might be able to support in a number of ways. They might be able to support financially if there's some costs associated with running the project that you want to do. You can go and ask your school or your university if they'd be willing to contribute some money towards it. But also they can help with publicity. So they might be able to put out adverts for you. They might be able to share it amongst the rest of the school, university, with the rest of your colleagues. So they're a really good ally to have on board. And if you're proactively doing something, I think that will go down really, really well with your teachers or your employers. If you're really, really stuck for finding a volunteer opportunity, so you want to go and build your skill set, you want to give back to your community, you want to gain those experiences, so that when you're going to those job interviews, you're ahead of the rest. But you really don't know what to do. You're not sure what you care about. You don't know what charities you can go and look for. You don't know what happens locally to you. There are still some places that you can look to find some opportunities. So online, there are loads of volunteer jobs listings. So it's listings that exclusively have volunteering opportunities. The biggest one of those is called doit.org. So you can go and Google that. It will come up as one of the first options. But yeah, type into Google doit.org, and it will come up with classifieds around the whole of the United Kingdom of different volunteering opportunities that are happening in your local community. And you can be specific on the skills that you want to get out of it. You can be specific on the locality and where it is, but it's a really good option. There's also lots of volunteer places, volunteer websites available locally. So in London, for example, there's something called Team London that has lots of really exciting opportunities. But I know for a fact that there's loads in all the different cities in the UK, and lots of different communities. They have their local volunteering services. So just 5 minutes spent on Google will help you identify all the different opportunities that are out there for you. Something to note is that the application process definitely varies on different volunteer roles. So some volunteer roles might just have a form and then you can start volunteering. Some volunteer roles might require you to have an interview or something like that. But don't worry, whatever it is that your volunteer role needs, feel confident in going into that and feel confident about the skills and the experience that you want to get out of it. People will respect that. If you're open about what it is that you're looking to get out of it and the skills that you can contribute, but also the development that you need, that would be really, really valuable to them. And in that application process, make sure you talk about what the development and training opportunities are. So all volunteering providers should be providing you with training to carry out the role. So it's really useful when you're in that application process just to ask them what it is that you can get out of it. Some volunteering opportunities actually allow you to get qualifications as part of doing the volunteering. Others will have really comprehensive and really valuable training. So it's definitely worth thinking about what is it that they're going to give me as part of this opportunity when you're deciding what you want to do. So thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this talk. I hope it's been valuable, and I hope it's inspired you to go out and find some volunteering opportunities for you. I genuinely believe that if you go out in your late teens and early 20s and get some volunteer experience under your belt, you will reap rewards later on in your career, because you will have gained that experience that other people won't have gained, and you will be so far ahead of everybody else that you're competing against for those good jobs. I'd like to leave you with 3 actions to go away from this, because I don't want this just to be a talk that you once watched. I want this to be the start of a journey for you on your development. So the first action is to go and think about an issue that you care about. Have a little reflect. What is it that you really would like to change? Is it the environment? Is it social mobility? Is it the way the education system works? It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you care about that issue. Because if you're going to give some time to something, you really should care about it. Then go and have a think about the skills you want to gain. What are your goals? If you've done a mentoring program, then you might have been somebody might have helped you think about what your goals might be. What are the skills that you need to get to your goals, and what can you go and look for, so that when you're approaching those opportunities, you can be upfront with, these are the skills that I want to develop, and how is your opportunity going to help me do that? Finally, go out there and find your opportunity. Go look for those charities locally. Go look on doit.org. Go find those issues. If there's nobody there fixing the issue that you want to fix, go and do it yourself. Go and create that voluntary opportunity. I really believe that if we can get more young people like yourselves being active citizens and going out and doing stuff in your community, then not only will it have great rewards for yourself, it will have great rewards on the community as a whole. So thank you so much for listening to our Brightside Talk. As I said earlier, Brightside Talks are a series of talks that are going to be happening over the next few months. So do have a look on the Brightside Connections platform at the events calendar to see the other things that are coming up. A really exciting one coming up next month is one on an online careers workshop. If you have any questions about anything that I've asked today, feel free to add them onto the forums on the site, or you can email me directly at connections@brightside.org.uk. I'd also appreciate any feedback that you might have. Just send it over again to connections@brightside.org.uk. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks.